talked earlier that overhaul was needed, that this kind of goes back to 1974, but really the country's support of labor goes all the way back to the 50s and 40s, if I'm not mistaken. So how have these changes been received by economists? Because the public, and we talked about its labor support, and it's very significant, and this is going to be a very significant change. So how is it going to move forward, run the risk of having more demonstrations in the street by workers who are used to getting money from the government rather than the private sector?
Well, as you say, Sean, of course, the economists, the businessmen, the entrepreneurs, of course, they were going to support such changes into the law. But the key interesting thing here is that the support for the changes doesn't come only from the pro-business leaders. Of course, you were going to expect certain unrest from the typical sectors of society, certain pushback from the unions, and especially a violent unrest from far-left protesters.
Right.
But the key thing here is that what used to be Argentina's economy, as you said, the labor movement was a key sector throughout its history. But the thing is, as their extension over the population retracted, with more population being covered by the informal economy, with more people being contracted as contractors or being entrepreneurial on themselves, the power of the unions to mobilize support for them has been significantly reduced.
Interesting.
Also, the general perception of corruption and cronyism and corporatism within the unions certainly diminished popular support for them. And so again, the protests are certainly a lot smaller than what used to be, and their capacity to sway the government or to persuade the government to backtrack on its steps has certainly been diminished.